Okay, good morning, guys. Today, June 26th, the morning of June 26th, and what I'm doing in this video is a walkthrough of a lab assignment where we're going to do a little bit of authentication and authorization. Okay, so this is a continuation of the issue tracker project that we've been working on this semester, and so obviously if you're following along, then you know where we are. And so this is kind of the fourth phase that we're in, where we're doing authentication authorization. Now, last week we did some theory, and in this lab we get to practice a little bit more. And so what I have pulled up is my issue tracker. I went ahead and made sure that I did a pull, so I have the most up-to-date code base, and I ran an npm install because I think I was working on my laptop last time I touched this issue tracker, and I'm on a desktop, and so I had some dependencies to install, but I should be good to go. And so just to verify, let me close down all of these. Save, close, save. If I go to my issue tracker, bug tracker, and got this booted up on 5003, list all my users, and there you go. And I think my list user route's limiting 5 records, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So bug tracker is up and running. So this lab, we start working with user accounts, and we have 3 dependencies that we worked with last week. Bcrypt to deal with the hashing and encrypting and decrypting of user passwords. So Bcrypt is a pretty nice, easy tool to use. Cookie parser is going to allow us to create client-side cookies, but client-side cookies aren't really considered secure, and so we use web tokens to kind of encrypt the data stored in that cookie. And so those are our 3 dependencies that we're going to go ahead and install. npm install bcrypt cookie-parser and JSON web token, 1 command, 3 packages, go. Okay. Now let's boot this back up. And if I go to my user, maybe if I go to my add user, I do have a password here. So email and password is just not encrypted. So right away, we'll be encrypting those passwords. Now, here, we're working with the config files. So we just make some settings basically in our config files. I don't think anything's going to change here. I should be able to copy that. And this is in my default.json. So I'm going to go into config, default JSON, and put a comma in after that DB, paste in my auth. Now, I will point out that last week I did an update. So I did an update to my deployment. So if you missed a video last week, you may want to go back and catch that. So I've gone back and forth in this class for where I'm storing my settings. And so these are database settings, configuration settings, right? Local host and environment variable settings. And so sometimes I store this in .env. Okay, so you can kind of see I'm storing these settings here twice, But as of right now, I actually brought in some additional dependencies. And so I do recommend going back and watching that video and updating your, if you're following along, updating your source code to be more similar to mine. Now, ultimately, where I end up using my config, let's see. Here you can see config get where I'm getting the port, config get where I'm getting the host name. So here's a couple of config gets. Let's see if I can search, see if I can find in all files, not. So that's in that file. I want to search in all. No. Oh, I know. Here, database.js. In my database.js, now if I search for config get, here we go. You could see I am getting my database settings when I'm connecting out of config get. Okay, so I refactored that last week. So that's kind of where it left off. So now that we're dealing with some authorization settings, there we store some of that. For example, our auth token will expire in 24 hours, and our cookie, I don't know if that's a day or something like that, as far as how long a cookie will last. Divide that number by, 60 minutes in an hour and whatever. Let's do that. That's a big number, 144. So the question is, how long does our cookie last on the client? So 60 minutes in an hour, so divide that by 60. That 60 seconds in a minute divided by is that 4 days? 1,000 milliseconds in a second. That's 1 minute. That's 1 hour. So 3,600,000. So let's take that. Divided by yeah, 4 days, I believe. Okay, came up to the same answer. 4 days. That's how long the cookie lasts. Okay, that's how long the token lasts. Those are all settings. Back to the lab. Basically, here, custom environment variables. So we go back here. Custom environment variables after DB. Paste that in. I think I renamed this a little bit when I was doing the walkthrough, but whatever, we'll keep it. The token expires in and the cookie max age. So ultimately we need to create an auth secret, and a token expires in and a cookie max age in our .env, which is what's coming up next. So here, auth secret. Auth secret equals, and this is the string that is used in your private key to encrypt your data. And so this is a sensitive string that you don't want to share with the world, because if they can get access to this string, then they can likely decrypt your data. So passwordsgenerator.net, what we do here is we just say, hey, give me a super long string, because those are hard to use password hacking tools. The longer the password is, the harder it is to get in. So there's our auth secret. Close that. Auth token expires in 1 hour. That's good enough. And you can adjust the length here. That 36, again, going into the math of it all. You should understand how to do that. You can adjust the numbers as needed. Okay, so that's updating the env, the config package. So this is, the more I teach this class, I do wonder, what packages do we include, what packages do we not include. Right now, a lot of the times when we're working with these config packages, sometimes we're storing settings in here, sometimes we're storing in .env. I do wonder, just being honest, if we need to work with this config package or we could keep it out, trying to keep it in, because I understand where in theory it could be beneficial, but right now it seems duplicate to me. But we're not trimming it yet. Okay, update the register user route. So again, kind of a one-liner bit of code where we brought in bcrypt, and we need to hash a password. And let's go ahead inside of our users.js. We need to go ahead and bring in bcrypt. Import bcrypt from bcrypt. And now let's collapse new user schema. Here's our list users. Getting a user by his ID. Here's a register new user. If there's an existing user here, finally creating a new user. Here, right above this line, is where we will hash the user's password. So here's our new user. Actually, maybe we'll here new user.password equals new user.password. Bcrypt dot hash. And what we do here is give it two values, the user's password, so our user is called new user, and we give it the number of salt rounds, which is 10. Now let's see, do we store salt rounds anywhere else? We don't, so we could just say, hey, 10 salt rounds. Okay, so now our new users should have a hashed password. Issue a token, and so we might refactor this code. Here we insert the user and send back success message. Let's go ahead and, again, we might refactor this into a method like we did. Issue login token, and so we need to bring in JWT. Import JWT from JSON web token, and let's also bring in config, since we'll be reading from the config package. Okay, auth payload, const auth payload equals. And so this is the data that you actually want to store in the cookie, which you might store the new user email, and an email property. Now we don't have the user ID here because we were letting the database create it in this sense. If you don't give it an object ID, what you can do is store an underscore ID equal to, now new ID is a function that we can bring in that generates an object ID. I believe we have that in our database file. So here's a function that generates a new ID, returns a string ID. So I'm going to export that in our database file. And then we can bring that in. Over here we've got DB module. So now we could say DB module dot new ID. Okay, that way we're generating the new ID in the middle tier, and then that allows you to set the underscore ID new user dot underscore ID. So we can store the ID in the payload. Let's store, sure, full name, new user dot full name, and the role. Okay, secret. Get the secret from the config. Options. Which is basically saying it expires in. And then you create your auth token. This is a little different, but I just made the object. So auth token equals JWT sign, and you pass it the payload, the secret, and the options. Auth payload the secret is just your string, and the options. And now we save it to a cookie. So did I bring in the package? I did not. So let's bring in the package. And so we brought in cookie parser, right? So what we do is we install it for all routes as middleware. And so kind kind of going back into node modules, we should be able to see cookie parser in here. Cookie parser. Okay, so we brought in cookie parser. So we don't bring it in on the route. Instead, we bring it in on server.js. So let's go into our server.js, and we bring in cookie parser here. Import cookie parser from cookie parser, and then we just do an app.use cookie parser. Okay, this allows us to create client-side cookies. Okay, and we could do that now on any of our routes. So back here, we now have our token. We just need to put that into a cookie and save it on the client. And you can kind of see here what we'll do to create a cookie. You do res.cookie once you have that cookie parser installed. The name of the cookie, the value, and how long it lasts. And so those are your three inputs: the cookie name, the value that you want to store, which the value we're going to store is our token, and how long it will last. So to come back here, res.cookie, we're calling our cookie token, we're storing our token, and we're setting an age. So literally that's our line of code. We need both of them because we're going to get the max age out of the config package. And so okay, so here generate our user, store some information in an auth payload, create a token, put the token in the cookie, save the cookie for some duration, and send the token back in the response. So it'll say user registered, user ID, and auth token. New user added. We're going to say user ID, new user dot underscore ID, user ID is that, and the auth token is auth, and that's just going to be, encrypted. All right, so now if we add John Doe, and I'll just say 2, password 12345, business analyst, and I'm going to click send, new user added, user ID of this, and auth token. Again, all of this is 3 different parts. 1, 2, 3. It's all encrypted. You can't see it. If I go to, let's see, let's get my user ID. Copy that. And if I go to find user by ID, and I ping that, okay. Let's see what I did wrong with my password. I screwed up the password. So let's delete user by ID because he was no good. Let's go back to my password. Okay, and so I might as well troubleshoot it live. So what I'll do is I'll say, okay, so I'm going to, oh, here's my insert user. Oh, yeah, that looks right. So I'll say debug user password prior to hash is, and that's just straight the password field at this point that we get from the rec.body. And after the hash is new user.password. After the hash, prior to hash, after, before, new user password. This is where we insert the user. And let's just create John Doe again. John Doe 2, new user created. And let's see the data that comes back. Oh, I have to await it. Bingo. That was my problem. Await. It returned a promise, and so I know I wasn't waiting for that promise to return. So now let's delete my user by ID. He's gone again. Now if I go to add my user, okay, John Doe added. Okay, so prior to the hash is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After the hash, there's my hash password. And now if I go to list user by ID, now I've got a hashed password. And importantly, if I click on cookies, I've got my auth token. So I know that my payload is being saved in a cookie, and that's the cookie is named auth token, and its value is all encrypted. And it'll expire the 26th at whatever that GMT mountain time is. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So we have updated the register route. So now when we log in, we need to, we no longer are storing the clear text password, so we now need to compare what the user gives us with a hash that's stored. So this is the clear text password, and the user.password is the hashed value. So we're comparing a clear text against a hashed value. And let's check it out. So back into the code. That's on register. Here's our login. Here's our clear text password. We're getting an email and a password from RecBody. We get the user by their email. And this if statement will be what we change. So if found user and found user we need to await bcrypt compare. The password that's the second argument. Password is what we read clear text. We're comparing the clear text with the encrypted value in the database. So if found user and comparing the clear text versus the encrypted, we're awaiting it, then we log them in. Okay, so now our user is johndoe2@gmail. So let's go to login user. Login user. johndoe2@gmail. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is his invalid credentials. If I put the 5, welcome back. Now when we log in the user, we also need to create the cookie. Right now there's a cookie because we just created the user, but if I were to delete that, clear cookies, and let's log the fella back in, John Doe's logged in, we still don't have a cookie. So you know, when you register an account, you create a cookie, and when you log in the user, you create the cookie. Which, again, it's like, hey, let's refactor this so that we kind of store, so the logic in a method. Now, we can copy and paste from what we did before, with one method to create the token and another method to create the cookie. And let's find this real quick. So on my users, let's go after my schemas. I'll paste this issue auth token. So we're going to pass in a user so that we can get some ID, so we can create the payload and return the auth token. And then here's another function to create the cookie. So 2 cookies, this sends in the response and the auth token. So to refactor our code here, let's register a user. Go down here, hash the password. We can get rid of these debug statements now. And here I can comment out these 3 lines, delete them later. Auth token equals issue auth token, pass in my user, which is new user. And comment out this, which creates the cookie. And here we just need to call issue auth cookie. This does not return anything, so we just got to send in the response object and the auth token that was just created. So issue auth cookie doesn't return anything, so we just call the function and it'll create the cookie. Let's save that. So refactored our login code here, and going to John Doe, let's say add user. This created my John Doe. I'm going to delete him real quick just to make sure I didn't break anything. So John Doe's deleted. Let's add John Doe again. Okay, did break something. Auth cookie expires in. Is not, oh, I know what it is. So this auth cookie expires in, we called it something else. We called it if I go into my config, cookie max age. So here, cookie max age. Cookie expired, yeah. Let's see. It's the same problem, it's just somewhere else. So config JS 179. Cookie max age, and auth cookie max age. Oh, it's up. Let's register my user. Okay, good. It was already. It was running. Okay, good. So again, my problem was I just named a variable cookie max age, which needed to reflect the name here in auth, which is what we called it at the start of this lab. Now, looks like John Doe 2 already is created. There's our object ID. Let's delete John Doe 2. Deleted. Find user by ID. Not found. So we go to add a user. New user added with our auth token. Okay, refactored in a good state. All that just to get back to the point where we can call those two methods once we log in the user. So that's our register route. So here we log in the user. If it's good, let's call our const auth token equals issue auth token found user, and call issue auth cookie, passing in res and auth token. And we'll say welcome back, found username. We'll say user ID. This will be found user dot underscore ID, auth token, auth token. So now log in a user, johndoe2 at Gmail, johndoe2 at Gmail, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to get invalid credentials, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Welcome back, John Doe, user ID, and our auth token. Awesome. Again, code that you reuse, put it in a method and just call the method. So that was update the register route, registering a new user. This was updating the login route, check and check. Okay, update the user API. Gonna pause for a minute. we've already been looking at the register route and kind of here, make the updates listed in exercise 2 to hash the password and generate a token. We did that. Registration does not require login. Anonymous users can register an account, so no middleware needed. Good there. When a new user is registered, set the following on a user document. So we got the IDs, a new ID. I believe we actually already did that. So when we register a user, again, we've got some duplicate validation here because we already got Joy handling that. It's okay. Doing that validation. We don't need to debug that. Here's our ID. Okay, so there's our IDs, a new ID. So we've got that. Back to the requirements. Created on is current date. Creation date, I mean, we could just call that created on. That's fine. Created on is new, is the current date, so that's good. And role is null. And so why do we set the role to null? Well, the idea is that a new user by default has no role until someone in the system gives them a role. And so that kind of is just one of those, it allows a authorized user to give someone a role, not like an end user to say, hey, I'm an administrator. So what we'll do is the role of null by default. And then it doesn't matter what role they say they are when they're adding a user, we're going to set the roles to null. So a role of null, per the lab requirement there. Add a record to the edits collection to track the changes. And so we're basically going to log everything that happens in our database, and we're going to do that in a new collection called edits. And so like we did on our exercise last week, we're going to make a function called save edit. And so this is going to be in the database file. And collapse that down. Async function save edit, send in the edit. So make a pretty straightforward function to add a record there, save edit, export save edit. Now here, insert a user. Okay, so in the edit document, we're going to get a timestamp. Let's go ahead and kind of knock this out. Timestamp. New date object. Okay, the collection is the user collection. The operation is an insert. The target is the user ID, which we have new user .id. And auth rec.auth. Now, okay, what is rec.auth? We need to bring in the middleware. Otherwise, this is going to be null. So we did bring in a package in the second lecture last week. Let's find that on npm. So let's go to npm js.org. We're going to search for Merlin 4 Express Auth. Okay, so we're going to install this package. Let's break out of that. Let's paste in that command to bring in Express Auth. All right. Now we install this on server.js. So import auth middleware from Express Auth. app.use auth middleware. Get your secret. Auth token is the name of your cookie. And refresh the HTTP only. Max age, big number. Now here, still not sure that that's going to give me what I want. So we brought that in. This is the package. It'll create the auth property on the request object. But since we are just doing that here, I'm not sure that it's available right here. And so what I'm going to do is debug user, and I'm just going to do rec.auth right here and see. That might be inserting a null value yet, and in which case I'll refactor that to be what I need. Back to here. Okay. So let's register a new user. Again, we got John Doe here. Let's go ahead and delete John Doe again. Let's boot up our server. Okay. Delete John Doe. Create John Doe. Okay, so I need to take out the role required. I don't know why I would need that anymore, because new user schemas, users no longer need a role, because we're just going to make them null anyways. So let's delete that. And again, we got the dual validation where we say role is required. So they can just delete that, no longer needed. Okay. New user John Doe added. And if I go back here, okay, good. It did have rec.auth did exist here. So what that means, and it kind of gives me some extra things here that I don't need, but that's okay in this object. So I should be able to go to my database and there should be a new collection. MongoDB. So there's my edits, there's my auth, there's my data. Happy with that. So again, just creating a log of transactions that happen on my database in this edits collection is what we're doing here. Okay, make the updates listed in exercise 3 to compare passwords. No other changes needed. Check that. API users list sends back a 401 if the user is not logged in. So you have to be logged in to list our users. Right now, you do not. And so, of course, if I go to list all users, we are logged in right now because we have an auth cookie, but just to verify that I can clear that and still get the data. And so thankfully we have this middleware that makes this functionality nice and easy. Let's go ahead and bring that in. Import is logged in from right there. Now we can, on our list, bring in is logged in. Okay, so now if we go to list, you are not logged in, 401 unauthorized. Now does this crash us? In which case we'll fix that. Okay, this does crash us. So let's fix that. So we have this in a try catch, but it still crashes. Somewhere we catch this. And so did this the other day where we add that error handling on our server.js. So let's go to server.js. Let's scroll down. Let's add in our error handling. I'll call it exception. Right, because that's what try catches are. They're exception handling. App.use. Okay, that should keep us from crashing. Now, doesn't like that we don't have next. Let's see. Now, if we try and list the users, it just says error 401, you are not authorized, you are not logged in. So bingo. However, if we log in as John Doe, log in John Doe, creates our auth token. So now that we have our token and we go to list all users, bingo. You at least have to be logged in. And there you go. You see John Doe lists himself as a user, role of null. Okay, so we have a new route, which is this is a get route. Implement this new route for users to view their own account information. Send back a 401 if the user is not logged in. Otherwise, query the user base by ID and return the data to the user. Okay, so we have a new route here. So user, let's collapse everything. Okay, so get you by user ID, router.get /me. Go ahead and make this async. Okay, let's get the user by ID, right? Const user equals, send back a 401 if the user is not logged in, right? So we're going to say comma is logged in. Const user equals db module get user by ID rec dot user ID, and if user is truthy, I'm gonna have to check on that database module, get user by ID. What is it returned? If it returns a user, if it returns what? Get user by ID, returns the user. It does return the user. If the user is found, res status 200 JSON says return the data to the user. I'll just send the whole object back. I mean, it is a else res status 404. Okay, so /me. Now, okay, so /me isn't actually, there's no ID coming across, right? So we don't validate the ID right there. Instead, we need to get the ID from the, let's go back to the payload. Okay, and here you could see that there is in the rec.auth, there is a _ID. So now the user is logged in, rec.auth._ID. So remembering a little bit from last week that basically the rec.auth, this is an object that has the payload in it. So in the payload, we put a few things. We put an ID, an email, and a role. You can put whatever you want in there. And so we have access to this ID here, so we can get the user by ID looking it up that way. And we're gonna have to generate this new route. So here, if I log in a user, okay, John Doe is logged in. There's his ID. And there's his auth token. So now let's generate a new get http:// host 5000 API users /me. See what breaks. Couldn't find API users me. Okay. This route needs to go above the user ID here because it would pass in the word me as the user ID. So you have to have the static routes before the dynamic routes. Let's try again. API users me. Let me see. It's not finding my route. Oh, I'm not on. I had port 5000. I'm on port 5003. Okay, good. And so it's hitting the route and it's sending back not what I want. So it does have my auth token. So let's do this. It's sending back an empty thing here. So let's debug user rec auth dot underscore ID. That should be getting my object ID. Okay, so just getting my object ID. And let me get user by ID here. Make sure find user by ID that user is John Doe with a role of null. Okay. So it is getting my user. Let's console, let's debug user dot ID. Let's throw in user ID, user full name, user dot full name. Get user by ID route hit. Oh, wait a minute. Get user by ID route hit. I'm not hitting the me. Oh gosh, let's go to me. There. Okay, so got that. It's coming back undefined. My user ID is coming back undefined. So here, rec.auth so here's the Roth ID, and this will be afterwards. Okay, rec auth ID is pulling that A0, and that A0 is the right ID, so I can get the user by ID there. Oh, I have to await. I bet you I don't await. I bet you I don't await. Users at home are probably screaming at the screen. If you're like me, you probably do that all the time. Okay. There we go. Now my me route returns John Doe. And if I clear my cookie, you're not logged in. If I log in as John Doe, and I go back to the me route, it returns John Doe. So let's save this. User get profile, user get me info. And we're going to save this in the bug tracker users save. Okay, the big difference here is now we're getting our ID from a different place. And now I don't need these. Okay. Send back a 401 if the user is not logged in. So get user by ID. This becomes straightforward. Valid ID is logged in. And so if I find the user by ID, post that. If I clear my cookie, user's no longer logged in. You're not logged in, 401. If I go to login user, log in, find user by ID, we're good. Becomes pretty fast. Put, so this is the update, right? Just thought I'd mention, you know, these HTTP methods, you know, when you do an update, sometimes you do it on a post, sometimes you do it on a put. Again, I think I mentioned it earlier that there's no clear consensus on which one to use. Different places do things differently. So I like putting some on posts and some on puts because it just helps with the routes. Because it does get a little complicated with this whole using the static routes before the dynamic ones. So just putting some on posts and some on puts kind of helps, as you can kind of see here, kind of helps with that. So anyways, this is an update. This is updating the me route, which I don't think we have. So let's go here above the dynamic router dot put me is logged in, and okay, so we got that. Hash the password if it changes. Okay, so that's coming in from the rec.body. So here we look up the user by the ID, we read the data from the rec body, update the fields, and it's going to be very similar to this route, and then call update user passing the ID and the updated found user object. So these two routes are going to be very similar. Except for getting the user ID from rec.auth._ID. We can automate the full name, right? Given name, family name, if given name and family name, found user dot given name is given name, found user dot family name, found user dot full name equals given name plus a space plus family name. Else if just given name, then we just say found user given name. Else if full name, just the full name's updated, found user. Okay, so that's kind of, the names are all on their own, and their own if-else block. If password is sent across, then we're going to found user password equals bcrypt dot hash password 10 salt rounds. I'm missing something. Oh wait, so let's make this async. Else if, family name. Else if family name. Okay, so if they give you both, update all three. Otherwise, if they just give you one, update that one. And the last thing here, if role one-liners, found user dot role equals role. Okay, so again, this is updating yourself, and this is more like an admin updating someone else. So just to put admin update route, this is an admin who can update anybody in the system, and this is an update self route. And copy those 3 lines inside of our if block still. Update the user and respond. Otherwise, we say else user ID not found. Else user not found. User ID. I mean, you're looking up yourself by your own ID. That's probably not likely to happen. Okay, so this is a new 5003. This is a, what do we do? Put http://localhost: 5003 API users me. And now if I go to my cookies, I got someone logged in here. Probably it's got to be John Doe. So if I just look at John Doe here, find user by ID. Okay, so let's just change his let's just start by changing his password. So I'm going to click on body here, password, because we got to make sure that that stays hash. It was 1 2 3 4 5. Let's add a 6. And it says updated. Now, presumably we need to, and this is in the lab, you know, regenerate that cookie. But if I log in my user here, yeah, we're getting some crashing. Data and hash must be strings. So okay, new promise. Oh, we probably got to await bcrypt. And found user, let's await bcrypt. So let's clear my cookie, clear cookies. Let's find a user by ID, not logged in. Login user. Oh, yes. I didn't start the server after I crashed. I didn't put anything in a try catch. That's why that crashed. I'm going to put my database calls in a try catch, but let's npm run start dev. Okay, now we're up and running again. And maybe my login for my so let's go to login. Data and hash must be strings. Found user password. Oh, I probably screwed up my. Oh yeah, my password when I didn't encrypt it properly going into the database, I screwed it all up. So I need to delete John Doe, and that should help. So let's find my. See if I can still delete my John Doe. I'm still in a crashed mode, so let's bring that out. I know what's going on. npm run start dev. We need to delete John Doe, or otherwise we'll just start creating a new user and get them logged in, then delete John Doe. But let's see if we can delete John Doe. John Doe deleted. Okay. Add user. John Doe's coming back. John Doe's back with a new user ID. Now, if I here go back to my me account and I update it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, now I got the await. That was my problem in the first place. Now it says John Doe's been updated. If I go to log in to user, I should get invalid credentials because he has a new password, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we successfully updated the password for John Doe. So let's save this and let's call this update me route. And if I go to list all users, we still got John Doe, but we know that the password's been updated. Issue a new token with the updated information. So this is made easy when we put those in some functions. So here, log in, update self route. And so we will const auth token equals issue auth token, passing in the found user object, and update the cookie. Issue auth cookie res comma auth token. And now we'll send back user ID updated with the not that this matters, but you can see that an auth token will have been created. So if I go back to finding user by ID, so there's John Doe. And if I update his password back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, now we get some auth token and log the user back in. No go. And we're in. So if any fields will be updated, last updated on, last updated by, information pulled, okay. So if the user, if email, if password, if role, if given name, okay, so update user sends in the found user. I'm going to go into update user. Update user. We spread the updated user, last updated on, we've got that. I mean, there's a chance that nothing gets updated. And I could drill down into that. Here, is where we actually call that in. Let's just do found user dot last updated by equals rec auth dot what do we put in there? We got the ID. Let's just put the email. You could put more information in there. In the payload, you could put full name. So we can use the full name property here, last updated by rec.auth full name. And so if we go back to, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we go put the 6 back on there, okay. Let's go to our actual data in our database. And let's see. There we go, last updated by John Doe. So we can store the full name in the payload and then update that field. Last updated today. So check, check. And allow a record to the edits. Okay, so this code becomes somewhat, we did a register, and we could just call this so in the register route, I'm just going to call this save edit command, and we're going to modify the data that we're passing in. So this is on the updating me route. And before we send that response, this is found user.id. This is a update. This is a user update with the found user ID and the rec.auth. So if I save that, okay, so if I log in my user, I think that 6 is on there. Okay, now let's update me, get rid of the 6, changing my password again. Okay, and so I did an update on my user, going back to my database, going to edits. So here's my update, and there you could see John Doe is in the payload, full name now. So I updated this object, the user collection, it was an update, and who was authorized to do that. Okay. Now this is the admin update, so practically the same kind of deal. 401 if the user is not logged in. So that's update me, admin update, valid ID, valid body, is logged in. So check that, hash the password if it changes. Don't forget to await bcrypt. If password found user equals await bcrypt dot hash found user password, comma, 10 salt rounds. Hash the password if it changes. I'm going to take this logic from up here, paste it down here, because we kind of took out the redid the name, took out the full name. Let the user update their role. Issue a new token if the user is updating themselves. So, you know, this is an admin user updating themselves. So this will be kind of down here. If, you know, basically the IDs match, right? So if the so we have a user ID, rec dot user ID is equal to rec dot auth dot underscore ID. So the ID that's coming across in the URL is the ID in the payload. Then we'll issue auth. Oops. Passing in found user, issue cookie, res. Okay, issue the token if the user updating is themselves. So we got to kind of go to, here's our user ID. Let's get user by ID. Here's get user by ID. There's that. Okay. And now we need to go to update user by ID. Update user by ID. Rename. Admin update user by ID. So right now, there we go. And in that case, the ID here should have been the ID in the Now we actually haven't put roles on anybody yet, in the sense of like an admin role. So we haven't said, hey, lock this down to an admin, but that's okay. So check. Okay, last updated on. We've got that last updated by from rec.auth. So found user dot last updated by rec.auth dot full name. Check. And add a record to the edits. So again, kind of pulling this. Down here. This is a user, let's see, user update. So the update is the fields that were changed and their new values. So here, so let's just say this const update user fields, update user data is an empty object. The fields that were changed and their values. So we'll kind of put this long form now. Email. Oh, oops. If email, found user email equals email, semicolon, and update user data dot email equals email. So we're adding a property to our object called email. Okay, if password update user data dot password equals now we need the found user dot password, which will be the new hash. So if email is truthy, set the found user equal to that and that. Okay. If the password, hash the password, do that. And we'll also do, in this case, update user data, given name, update user data, family name, okay, just updating this object based on what's going on. And update update user data role equals role. Okay, all that just to say the update is the update user data. And comma. Did they not have that? It was in the last one. Okay. So you can make those changes on the prior route as well. Guess I'll go ahead and do that. You can fast forward this or follow along. Okay. And then this says update user data, comma. Okay, just to test it once, update admin by ID. So I guess we need to make sure that that's a good ID. John Doe, must be a 5. John Doe's logged in, ending in 323. We're going to update 323. Role of developer. User updated. In the edits, there's our update role of developer by John Doe. So that worked. And all good there. This is a long lab, but we are on making good progress. Delete. The user's not logged in. let's pass it is logged in. And let's bring in a save edit on our delete. If deleted count is not equal to 0, this is nice. This is the user delete target is the rec.user ID. Make sure we got timestamp, call, operation delete, target, rec.auth. So there's our delete. And presumably we are logged in still as John Doe. Let's clear that. Say we're not logged in. Try and delete 323. Delete by ID. We should get you are not logged in. So let's log in 323. Let's delete 323. User deleted. Let's go back to our log. User is deleted. All right, on to bugs. Let's open up bugs. Okay, logged into list. We need to bring in is logged in. So let's add a user. John Doe's coming back. Now that John Doe, there's that. Let's start closing these user routes. And let's just log in our, well, John Doe can, we'll keep this route open so that we can log John Doe, or log him in, blah. Save. Save. Okay, so there's John Doe. He's logged in. And we should be able to list the bugs. Just do the full list. And we are limiting our list to, or maybe there's more bugs than that, I don't know. Maybe there's no more bugs. Seems like this bug has the comments on it. One, two, three, four. 4 bugs, one with a bunch of comments on it. If I clear my cookie, clear all cookies, list the bugs, you're not logged in. We log in. We can list the bugs. Check. List a bug by the ID. Might as well save that. Find bug by ID. Okay, right now doesn't matter. is logged in. We know that works. Don't need to test it at this point. We are logged in. We could still get the bug. When a bug is created, set the following to an ID: created on, created by. Classification, unclassified, closed is false. So let's go to a new bug. I'm going to get rid of this duplicate validation. Okay. So here's our new bug. If existing bug already exists. Otherwise, new bug has an ID. We don't have an ID. So let's say _ID : new ID, and this will be db module dot new ID. So we'll generate the ID here, create it on, created by, rec auth dot full name, classification unclassified. Closed is false. Okay, and from here, let's copy our save edit into bug, new bug. So this collection is the bug. This is an insert. The target is the _ID, new bug _ID, and who is logged in to do that. All right. Here we'll say update equals bug. So update : new bug. All right. So title, description, steps to reproduce. So create new bug, body, title. App running slowly. Description: for the past week, everything is slow. Steps to reproduce: use the app at any time. It's slow. Okay. Send. Success. New bug app running slowly added. Go into my edits. There we go. Created on, closed false, classification, app running slowly. What else do we need to look at? Steps to reproduce, created on, created by, pull up a bug by its ID here. So I want to add the bug ID in my success message. Bug ID, new bug dot underscore ID. Let's go back to list all bugs. App running slowly. For the past week, everything is running slow. Find bug by ID, paste that in. Created by John Doe. So that works. And if the user's not logged in, of course, we already tested that a bunch of times. Okay, this is an update the bug ID. Send back if the user is not logged in. Oh, well, we need to add this here. Otherwise, you don't need to be logged in. So it did say, there you go, if the user's not logged in. Send back a 401 if the user's not logged in on bug ID, valid ID is logged in. And bug updates dot title. Bug updates description. Bug updates dot steps to reproduce. Okay. Bring in the save edit. The target is the bug ID, and the update is the found bug. No. Update is the update bug updates. This is an edit. Who's authorized to do it? Okay, so there's our bug ID. And the steps to reproduce. Update bug by ID. Steps to reproduce. Use the app at night. Update. Now this says user updated, but it should say bug updated. Bug updated. If I go to find bug by ID. Use the app at night. If I go to my edits collection, getting the hang of it, bug, edit, the update that was made, steps to reproduce, use the app at night. Last updated on, last updated by. Let's get that in there. So let's see, this is going to go to update bug. Let's go to update bug in our database. I'm going to look at update bug. Update bug. We got the last updated. Let's say last updated on, which I believe is what this wants. Last updated on and last updated by. So last updated by, we can go into here. We could say found bug dot last updated by equals rec dot auth dot full name. And so if I update that bug again, update bug by ID use after 10 p.m. and I go to find bug by ID, we should have a last updated by John Doe. Okay, 2 more. 1, 2, 3 more. And then I'm going to take a lunch. Been at it for a while. Okay, so this is the classify route. So let's pull that up. Bug ID classify, of course, is logged in. Update the bug document classified on. I think we already did that. Classify bug inside of database. Classify bug. Classified on, current date. Classified by. So classify bug, so found bug, constant classification. Otherwise, we send that in, classify bug, found bug. Okay, so let's look at this method again. Classify bug. Classify bug. We look a bug up by the ID. We spread. So we do an update 1. Okay. So we can send that in, that property into that second parameter. So we should be able to update the found bug dot classified by rec dot auth dot full name. We send found bug in. Okay. Bring in save edit. Okay, so this is bug edit or update. It wants me to say update a bug. Same thing here, bug, update the bug. Bug ID, update fields that were changed, which really it's just the classification. It's the only field. If classification, yeah. So we can just put that classification. It's the only thing that you're changing here. And who did it? Okay, so let's go. This is our bug ID. The app running slowly, nothing about it's unclassified. So let's classify it. Classify bug. Paste that in. And I believe the classifications were just like priorities, like P1, P2. Or was it more than that? Classification schema. Okay, there they are. So let's just say approved. Bug classified. Find bug by ID. Classification approved. Classified by, classified on. All good. If I go to here, my edits, updating a bug, update. Here, what we can do to change that just a little bit. Is update, no, class, the field is the classified field. And then the classification. Be an object with a classified property and whatever the classification is. So if I kind of go back here and if I go back to classify bug and look at the classifications again, pick a different one, duplicate. Okay, bug classified. Now if I refresh, that'll look a little different. Classified duplicate. There we go. Got that. And assign. So we need a bug ID. Let's pull up the assign. Save, 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 save. Assign bug to user. So this is the bug ID. Whoop. So let's find bug by ID. And let's find a user ID, list all users. I'm not going to run this quite yet, but there's my user ID. Okay, so that's ready to assign. Let's write some code. There's comments. We're not on comments. Here's assigning a bug. Is logged in, comma. All the way down here is where we pass in the bug ID, the user, and the bug. So this is ultimately where it worked. Let's go back to the requirements. Send back a 401 if the user's not logged in. Update assigned on and assigned by. Signed on should be there. Assigned bug, database, assigned bug. Assigned on is there. Assigned by. Found bug assigned by rec.auth.fullname. So assign bug here. We spread assign bug. Okay, so assigned bug here, found bug is being sent in, and we have now full name there. Okay, so now it should say that John Doe assigned the bug, because he's who's logged in. Add records. Okay, so same as above. So here, that was on the classify. Let's pull that in. And after we assign the bug, this is updating a bug. Rec.auth. The update is the add record to the edits. Let's see. It's a bug update, bug ID, update. Here we change the classification, but what are we doing on this one? On this one, we are assigning the bug. So we can just say assigned to found user. We'll just do that. Okay, so let's run this now. Bug assigned. So if I fund this, bug by ID assigned to, there we go, assigned by John Doe, assigned on. There we go. And if we go back here, update a bug, assigned to, there you go. Awesome. Close, and then we have comments, and then we have test cases. We're winding down. I'll do this one, then take a little pause. So this is closing a bug by its ID. Let's find the route. Close bug. Let's find bug by ID. Close bug. So if I find bug, it's closed as false. Before I do that is logged in. We'll add that. There's my close is logged in. Closed on and closed by. Closed on set to null if bug is reopened. So closed on. So that's on the database. Closed bug. Closed on. You could do something like if closed is true, then you do that. Else, we're going to do something else. Now, here it's out of scope, which is why that's erroring out. But let's just copy and paste. And this one would be closed of null. And const bug is empty object. Let's say let bug. Okay. So if it's closed, then you set it closed on, otherwise you set of null. Now, curious about my I changed this closed joy dot, let's see, there's bool and boolean. And I forget which one. One of those works. I'm changing my close schema to make sure it's bool. It might be, actually I think it's bool. That's how I got that to work. Okay, so we got the assign going. We're on the close. Here. Try and close the bug. Is logged in. First. Closed on, set to null. Closed by, set to null if bug is reopened. Okay, so const closed if not closed. Close is required. Okay. If closed is true here, then we're going to set found bug closed by equals rec auth full name, else found bug closed by equals null. Okay. Closed by. Okay, so if I find my bug by ID, AC63, AC63, closed of true. Okay. So maybe it was Boolean. This is a joy validation, so let's go back to my validation here. That might be, yeah, that's probably a method. So let me look up the joy. Joy.dev is where I need to go. Get started. Boolean. It's method. Save that. There we go. Okay. So, bug closed. If I go to get my bug by ID, closed by John Doe, closed on, closed is true, and false. Yeah, that was the error I was getting before, where it says closed field is required, which is again where I got crossed up before here, which was, I believe there's a bool method which would allow me to, nope, it got me again. How did I do that? Let me pause. I solved it another way, but in our dog walker app. But for now, because I'm testing for basically one property, true or false on close, I'm gonna take this out for now. And now, okay, now I need to update the message because it's either bug closed true, bug closed false. Okay. Okay, it did set closed to false, which is what I wanted, but it did not set the closed by and closed on to null. So I'm going to change this because it's coming in as a string true, which is the problem. Now I'm going to check my closed property to a string true. If it is, then we set the full name, otherwise we set it to null. So if I go to close here, list bug by ID. Okay, bingo. And then I'll need to do the same thing on the bug side. It will be in operation. So in my database, if closed true, otherwise we set closed on to null. And find bug by ID, closed on null. We set these back to true. Find bug by ID. We set these fields. Cool. Yeah, it's the challenge there is a string true versus a Boolean true, and I fixed it in that other lab, but multiple ways of fixing it. I fixed it differently in that other lab. Cool. And last thing is the edits. So let's pull that in here. Bug. And like the assign. Here's our save edit on the assign. And here's our save edit. We'll set closed to closed bug. It's an updating a bug by who? Okay, a couple more. I'm going to take a little lunch and we'll finish this up. Okay, back from a little lunch and kind of glancing at this. The requirements thin out a little bit. Not as many bullet points on any one. So I think these might go a little quicker here towards the end. Get a little bit easier to do. So updating, let's see, listing the comments on a bug. Just need to be logged in. So let's find, kind of collapse all these. There's all my test cases. So here's my comment list. And we'll just say is logged in. Bug ID comment list. So we are logged in, so let's kind of logged in, list all bugs. Okay, logged in, my user, list all my bugs, and let's see if I can find one with some comments. So here's my bug ID with some comments. And okay. And if I clear all the cookies, not logged in. Log in a user, get bug comments. They come back pretty easy. Get one by comment ID. Okay, so this is bug ID, comment ID is logged in. Don't need to test it at this point. And this is on a new comment. It says use rec.auth to determine who posted the comment instead of rec.body. So new comment, comment new, you can say is logged in, and this is user comment, rec.body.comment, comment ID, user results, rec.body.user ID. So there's rec.body user ID. It just says rec.auth, rec.auth._ID. So now whoever is logged in will be the one generating the new comment. There we go. So now if I new bug comment, and let's 2400's my bug comment new. Now we just say this is resolution 20. Let's see. I don't know that I was getting full name anywhere. Comments coming from there. Okay, let's just try that. Full name is required, so we need to modify the joy validation on the bug comment. So the new comment schema. We took that out temporarily. New comment schema. New comment schema. Took the full name out and the user ID out. Okay. Get bug comments. Now this needs some more work because we lost the full name and the user ID, so let's insert new user comment. Oh, that's right. I was updating multiple collections here. So insert new bug comment was this one, where you get the bug ID and the new comment. These names, bug comment. So we need to say, those are the three fields, right? So new comment dot full name equals rec dot auth dot full name, and user ID new comment dot user ID is rec dot auth dot ID. There we go. Now we didn't lose any of the data. Okay, listing all of the test cases. Close that, close that, close that, save, close. Okay, again, bug ID test list. Bug ID test list. And so let's throw that is logged in. Bug ID test list. And get the test by the ID. Okay, so that's get the test by ID is logged in. Check, check. API bug ID test new. Test new. Right here. Set the created on and created by fields on the test case. Created on, new test case, created by rec.auth.fullname. Add a record to the edits to track the changes. And go back here to new. There we go. Call save edit. This is on the new test case on a bug. Insert. If the modified count is 1, target. This is the new test case ID. And this is the new test case. Okay, let's generate a new test case for a bug. What is the bug that we've been messing with? We said it just went slow. These are comments. Okay, this is our bug that we've been messing with. New bug test case. So on this bug, so we'll call this the speed up the app test case, version 1, false. Okay, new test case added. So this is our bug. Now let's just here. There we go. Created by John Doe. Not an insert operation, but an update. This says bug insert. This should have been bug update. Delete that. And speed up the app test case 2. Go. Refresh this. Update a bug with our data in there. Okay, get the bug and the test ID. So here's my test ID. So the bug ends in 63. There's get the bug by ID. And let's see what we get to do to it. So get the bug by ID. Get the bug by ID. We're going to say is logged in. Last updated on and last updated by. So this is our updated test case. So we could say test case sub-0 dot last updated by rec dot auth dot full name. So that should be last updated by, last updated on should be in the update bug test case. No? Test case sub-0 last updated on equals new date. Okay, so update test case. So again, we got to get our correct bug ID and our correct test case ID. We're going to set the version to v2. Version v2. Modified count is 1. So if I go back to test case v2, last updated on, there we go. Add a record to the edits. Oh, this was an insert bug. This is an insert operation. Whereas this one, scroll down, this is an update. The test case sub-0 rec.test ID. And the update is test case sub-0. Okay, so if we update this to v3, now we go into our edits collection. 33. Almost done. This is a long one. Execute. We got rid of this one. And so change the points. If you made it this far, the last one's worth 5 points. Deleting if they're not logged in, and we're logging changes. So let's do that. Is logged in. Delete your test case. This is a delete operation. We don't need the update. Okay, and so we're deleting something, saving that, and so bug ID, test ID. Let's go delete bug ID. Test ID. Send. Test case deleted. And there's our delete. We're not deleting the bug. We're deleting the test case. So I suppose the update could be provided to say, well, what test case are you deleting? Let's go. But not required. You could work that at this point if you so chose. Ooh, that was a long one, but it works. Successful 3 hours. Lots of coding. This project is this is why it's a semester-long project. It becomes larger scoped, and right now, well, just this one here, one file here is 559 lines of code, and so you could see the value in doing a larger scoped project, and we're coming up on the halfway point in the class, so this is getting fairly large. So we'll stop this video here. That is the end of this lab, which is 401.